Hey YouTube, Jeff here. I've done a bunch of mods to my Joyo Tremolo, and before I put it back together I thought I'd show people what's going on inside. First, Joyo pretty much stole the design from the Tremulator, and if you go out and look long enough online you'll find a schematic of the Tremulator drawn by Tassa, corrected by Monkey XX. It has a few errors in it, but it's pretty good. That's the basis of the circuit. Joyo replaced a capacitor and a resistor value that really matter, and they added an extra capacitor between the diode and one of the op amps that does just about nothing. Okay, so what I'm going to tell you on this video is how to make a few mods to it. The first mod is the most important in my mind, and it allows you to modulate the wave shape, if you will. And the stock device is going to have a wave shape that looks something like this middle, sort of a flattened triangle. What this mod will let you do is change the wave shape all the way from a hard square to a full triangle, and it's pretty cool. So why don't I show you or play just a few chords so you can hear what it sounds like. We'll start out with the wave shape about where the stock is. It's about in the middle. So here we go, this clear strum. And now let's turn on the tremolo. Let's put the depth all the way up. Pretty nice slow speed so you can hear what's going on. Okay, so that's pretty much this middle waveform, flattened triangle. Now let's, I'll show you how to do this, but let's turn it all the way to a square wave. You hear how choppy it is. And then let's move it all the way towards a full triangle. Well, here's about the middle position. A little less chop. And then we'll move it towards the full triangle. One more time. And just for some drama, let's crank up the speed about as fast as it'll go. Again, it got the depth all the way up. This is the triangle shape. And then we can modulate it. It's about halfway, a flat triangle. And then if we take it all the way to the square wave, it's actually so choppy you get a little static, so I'm going to back it off just a hair from the full square. Okay, so how do you do that? There's a single resistor you need to replace, and on the board, this resistor is right next to this IC in the middle. There's a resistor out there. It's labeled resistor 11 on the board. Mine had something like a 6.9 kV resistor. And you're going to pull that resistor out and replace it with a 10K potentiometer. And that's what this little guy here is. I found 10K was actually a little bit too much range, more like 8.5K. So I've actually, I believe this is a 50K resistor I put in series with it to bring the range more from like 0 to about 8.5. I found that to work a little better. Okay, so that, if you're only going to do one mod, I think it's a great one. To get you all the way from the square. Really choppy. To more of a ramp. With a truncated top, a flat ramp, all the way to a smooth ramp. Okay, let's talk about the next mod. That'll allow you, if you just make that one change, to get the wave shapes, and I think that's the most important. Now, some people may want to get their thing more to a Tremulator spec. And here you're going to have to do a couple things. There's a capacitor labeled C5, And on my Joyo unit, that C5 was a 2.2 microfarad. The Tremulator actually uses a 4.7 microfarad in that spot. Next thing you need to do is there's a resistor. I can't see the labeling, but it's right next to diode 3. If you look on the left of your circuit, or right of your circuit board, there's two diodes. It's the top diode. Right next to it, in between the diode and the chip, there's a resistor. Joyo used a 100K resistor to sort of match their lower value capacitor. The Tremulator uses a 33K. So what I actually did was, again, I just put a series resistor on top of that. I think again I used something around a 50K to get the combined 100K and 50K down to around 33, 35. Or you can just pull the resistor out and put a 33K. And the reason you do that is to get the slower, well, it's tuned with a capacitor. The larger capacitor needs a smaller resistor to get the slow frequencies going. Or the way the Tremulator tuned it. And there's a third capacitor, or another capacitor, that Joyo just added, again, for it curves the edges of the waves just a hair, but it really doesn't do much. And it's a 220 picofarad capacitor, and it's kind of hard to see, but it's the capacitor just below the IC here, next to the diodes. The first capacitor there, I think it was red or orange. You can just pull it right out, and if you do those three things, you'll have your Joyo pretty much to Tremulator original specs. Swap C5 to a 4.7 microfarad, get that resistor down to 33K, and pull the 220 picofarad, and you'll be Tremulator specs. Okay, one more thing that I did. I kind of liked the idea that Joyo put a capacitor in there to sort of change the wave shape a little bit. So I actually come up with a second waveform that takes advantage of that capacitor slot. And just to sort of show you what my little mod's done, in the original mod, you would go all the way from a square wave to a flattened triangle to a full triangle. With this mod, you never go to a full triangle. The best you do is sort of a flattened triangle. But it's got less steep sides. So it gets more of a ramp. At the extreme it'll go to a square. So I'll bring it back to a square here. And then in the middle, the flattened is kind of where the Joyo ends up. So this kind of middle position is kind of where the Joyo, or actually this is sort of what the Joyo sort of stock wave is like. And then as I bring it to the end, I never get to a triangle. And I really like this wave. So it's sort of a flattened flat triangle, for lack of a better expression. And to do that, if you like this waveform a little better, you don't replace C5. You keep it stock with what the Joyo came with. But that 220 picofarad, sort of sitting there, you replace it with a much larger capacitor. I put in a 7 microfarad. It's much larger, and it actually does something. The 220 really doesn't do anything. You keep the stock Joyo 2.2 microfarad. That resistor by diode 3, just like the Tremulator, you want it around 33K to get the speeds about right. And again, I've replaced the R11 with a pot, so I can change the waveforms. Okay, so there you go. Get various waveforms. And I actually liked them both, so I created a mod that lets me switch between both. I can have my strange waveforms or the not so strange with the flip of a switch. So I actually are switching between two capacitor values between the Joyo 2.2 and the Tremulator 4.7 microfarad. Couldn't decide what I like better, so I made it do both. Okay, hey, thanks for watching. Remember, the Lord loves you, and He sent His Son Jesus to save you. And if you haven't considered the claims of the Lord Jesus Christ, I'd really encourage you to. Okay, hope you found this informative. Thanks. Bye.